What's shaking, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Shay, and today is the start of a new reading vlog. It is currently March the 7th. We're going to have us a good time this week. I am going out of town this weekend, so my reading may be slightly less, but that's okay. Hopefully we will still have a good quality reading week. Now, again, if you don't know me, I have to have an audiobook going, and I have to have a physical read. So my audiobooks are like my mystery thrillers, fantasy, sci-fi kind of section, and my physical reads are my romance books. So we're going to spin a wheel to see what I'm going to read for each thing. On these wheels, on my audiobook wheel, I have everything that I possibly could read on audio that I pulled out of my March TBR jars, and also some sequels that I'm meaning to get to. And on my physical reads, same thing. I have some romance books that I am hoping to read physically off of my March TBR jars, and some sequels that I need to get to. So I am going to have a fair share of commute to work this week, as I am commuting all 5 days. So lots of audiobook time. Let me go ahead and let's choose the audiobook that I'm going to be listening to this week. Okay, this is my audiobook wheel, and I'm sorry if you can't see that. Of course, my AC is going to click on. You can see it. Okay, this is The Thief Who Pulled on Trouble's Braids. I own this one on audio. It did come out of my March TBR jars, so I'm excited to get to it. It's a little bit shorter one. It did win the Self-Published Fantasy Blog Off the year that it was entered, so I'm interested to see. Now let's go ahead and spin for my physical read, which is the romance reads. So here we go. Y'all can see. Okay, Reckless. What a time to be alive. Reckless. So this is by Elsie Silver. This is Chestnut Spring series. I have been reading through both the Chestnut Spring series and the Rose Hill series. I have liked the Rose Hill series more than I have liked the Chestnut Spring series. But I heard that this book, Reckless, is one of people's favorites from the Chestnut Spring series. So let's see how I like it. I will check in when I get some into these books. I did not check in while I was reading Reckless by Elsie Silver, because I devoured that book in like the span of a day. I've never read that many books. I'm trying to think back if I've ever read any books with the pregnancy trope, and I don't think I've read that many books with the pregnancy trope, but I know people hate this trope, and I'm just gonna say that I feel like this was very well done to me. Like, I could see why people would hate the pregnancy trope, but this one to me just seemed very well done. I liked both of our characters. It took me a minute to remember Winter's story, who was our female main character. It took me a minute to remember her story back from all the way book 1. I think was her sister's story, and so it took me a minute to kind of refresh myself about her particular story and how she got to where she is. And I loved our male main character. I thought he was such a sweetheart, such a wonderful person. So here I am giving another Elsie Silver 5 stars. So I've read several Elsie Silver now, and I've given 2 5 stars. Some of them have just gotten like a lot of 3 stars, but this one and Wild Eyes, I gave 5 stars. So Elsie Silver definitely is hit or miss for me, but I really loved this one particularly. So it is time to, it's very late, which is why I'm laying here in bed. It is time. Let me erase Reckless from the wheel. By the way, that was not only a series continuation for me, but a book I owned, because I own it on audio. So that's fantastic, hitting my goals. All right, so I'm going to strategically do this because, I'm holding my phone. I do not know if you can see that, but it is So Not Meant to Be, which is from my March TBR jars for my series continuations. So Not Meant to Be. I know that these vlogs probably are not super interesting because I'm reading a lot of sequels to things that I probably need to read. This one particularly I think will be interesting because I gave the first book 2 stars, which is a TikTok darling. I didn't care for it. And by the way, I love Megan Quinn. Most of the things I read by Megan Quinn, I absolutely adore. She's like the queen of rom-com, but for some reason, the first book to me was so cheesy. I don't know what this one particularly is about. I think these are billionaire romances. I think they're all billionaires, so we'll kind of see what happens with this particular one. So Not Meant to Be, here I come. So let's talk about Reckless real quick, because I always get excited when I finish a book that I own, so I can go and like check it off as like, oh yeah, I read an owned book. So I have a list of books that I have owned prior to 2025, which this was one of those. And I went to check it off, and it wasn't there. And so what that means is I have forgotten yet another book on my own list. So I had to add it, which increased my total books. So then it wasn't as satisfying when I checked it off that I read it. Something else terrible really happened. Let me tell you. I started reading The Thief Who Pulled on Trouble's Braids. I think that's what the book title is. Self-published book. It's what I spun out of my audio reads. I started that today, and I have to say I'm having a fantastic time. I really am. This is following basically this girl. She's a thief, but this other thief comes to her house that's her friend. They run in the same circles, and he says, hey, I've run into a bit of trouble, but I've got this like artifact that people really want, and I'm gonna go tonight, and I'm gonna, sort this trouble out if you will hold on to my artifact. Well, come to find out, he actually does get murdered in a pretty brutal way, and she thinks it's because they are looking for the artifact. And so she is upset because this was like her thief friend, and she now wants revenge. So she's trying to hunt down who did this to him, and I am all for a revenge story. All for a revenge story. I'm having a good time. What I'm not having a good time about is the fact that I pulled up this is a book that I own. Remember, I pulled it out of my own jar. This is a book I own on audio. I pulled up my audiobook, and the audiobook is the first and the second book. So, of course, on my own list, I don't have the second book on there because I thought that I owned the audio just for the first book. So now I've got to add the second book on there. And so now I'm going to get no satisfaction when I say I've read this own book too, because I've got to then go and add the second book on there. And I don't know. I feel some type of way about this. I feel like I should be making progress, but I'm really not making progress. If that makes any sense. Anyway, any whoosies. I am going to continue The Thief Who Pulled on Trouble's Braids because I'm having a good time with it. I think I'm about 25, 30-ish% into the book. So I'm a good fair amount into the book, and really enjoy my time. I did start So Not Meant to Be. I gotta say, like the first chapter or so, I was not having a good time. I was like, okay. I slightly remember this cringe writing from the first one. Like, this is what I didn't like about this. I don't know if I'm having a good time. But as we get into the book, I'm having a better time. This is following the brother of the male main character in book 1 and the sister of the female character in book 2. So they are like enemies. They don't like each other. So enemies to lovers. And we're going to see how this goes. So far, I'm not far in. I don't really have a read on either of these characters. I think the male main character is coming off as an asshole, and I think the female main character is coming off as a little bit pretentious, naive. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I'll check back in when I get further into these books. So The Thief Who Pulled on Trouble's Braids, I finished. I'm going to give it 3 stars. Here's the thing. This was a super short book. I think it was like 205, 208 pages, somewhere in that range. Could be honestly considered like a novella with how short it was. And I really liked the beginning of the book. I liked our main character, Amra. She's a thief. Her friend has been hired for a heist, and he doesn't necessarily get compensated in the way that he wants. So he keeps one of the items that he has been hired to steal, and he feels like people are after him for this specific item, like there's something about this specific item that people want. So he gives it to Amra while he goes and sorts some things out. He gives it to her to protect, and then he's found dead. And of course, Amra is looking for who killed him. What is this actual, like it's like a gold toad that is the artifact. What is this actual artifact? Is there more to it than this? Who killed her friend? All of the things. The problem is number one, there are a lot of characters introduced in such a short time span. You don't really get good character development. While I do appreciate that there's not a lot of descriptions and 5,000 pages of descriptions of what somebody's wearing, it moves super, super fast paced. And I did like that, except that the things that were happening in the story, I didn't care about because I didn't care for the characters. Again, you have to make me care for the characters. I feel like you could have a short book and do great character development, and not all of these characters were fleshed out well enough for me to care. I will continue on because I am interested to know what happens in the second book, but this is a series of like 5 books, I think, 6, I don't know, but that's that. I gave it 3 stars. I do think there is an audience for this book if you like fast-paced fantasy stories. I mean, and you don't really care as much about character development. Maybe this would be a book for you. So instead of spinning my wheel again, I am actually going to pick up Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, and that's because it came in from my library some time ago, and I haven't picked it up yet, and it's going to be due back soon, so I am going to go ahead and pick that up as my audiobook as I commute the rest of the week for work. I'm still reading So Not Meant to Be. I'm like 30% in. I'm feeling the same kind of way that I felt about that as I checked in last time. I am really enjoying more so the male main character though than I was. I feel like, you know, at first, you know, I had some type of feelings about him, like being an asshole or being whatever, but he's growing on me, and that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. All right, guys, I will check back in probably when I get done with So Not Meant to Be, or I get some into Middle of the Night and I have something to say. So it has been a minute since I checked in, and I am going to kind of finish out this vlog. Some things have happened, and that's why I haven't checked in, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about So Not Meant to Be by Megan Quinn first, because I finished that book, and interestingly, if you listen to me talk about this book, like all of my feelings changed shortly after I spoke with y'all. So generally I was feeling some type of way about these characters in the first part of the book, and then everything changed, and believe it or not, I gave this book 5 stars at the end of it. I don't know, it was something about these 2 characters and the way that I think, again, I am a sucker for like broken characters, and I feel like both of these characters had flaws, but they were also very broken, it turns out. And I tend to like those kinds of characters. I specifically really liked our male main character. Now, I did look up Goodreads reviews as to why like people necessarily wouldn't have liked this book, and I just don't think that they liked the female main character. I think they said that she treated the male main character like crap and that she was insufferable. I did not gather that with this book. I truly liked them, and I liked them together, and I realized that she was broken. So while she comes off as a certain type of way, I think she has a broken personality as well as him, so they fit together. And I overall ended up really liking this, and I gave it 5 stars. Then I think I said I was going to read Middle of the Night, which I did finish Middle of the Night, and let's talk about it. So I've read a lot of Riley Sager. I think there's only a couple of books that I haven't read by him, but Middle of the Night is a book about a boy. He's older now, but when he was, I think he was 11, 12, I can't remember what age they were, but he was spending the night in the tent in his backyard with his best friend, and he wakes up and the tent has been slashed. His best friend is gone, and he's been missing all of this time. And so this, of course, has affected him mentally and has affected the rest of his life. And so he's coming back to live in the neighborhood where everything happened. And of course, we're going to solve this mystery of what actually happened to his best friend, whose body was never found, and nobody never knows what happened to him. And so I found this book kind of boring through most of the story. I think it's just because simply I found our main character lacking. He just seemed like he didn't have any personality, and I understand mental health, and what he went through was terrible, but I feel like it was a little over the top with how he let this run his entire life. So I did give it 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite Riley Sager, but I still continue to read Riley Sager because I think he does have good times. The reason why I have not really updated this vlog, and I still am going to put it out, is number 1, I was in a wreck halfway through this vlog, which was unfortunate. Everybody's fine. I didn't get like super hurt. My car's not like totaled or really poorly damaged, but it gave me some anxiety, so I haven't finished that vlog. And then over the weekend we went to Savannah to see Matt Rife, because I just always feel like, is he really as funny as people say he is? And we see the little clips of him. But anyway, I wanted to go see. And when I bought tickets, I didn't realize that it was the weekend before St. Patrick's Day. So if you ever know about Savannah, Georgia, it's like the capital of St. Patty's Day celebrations. And at the time that I bought tickets, I didn't realize that it was St. Patty's Day, the weekend before St. Patty's Day. So it was chaos. But first of all, was the hype around Matt Rife real? The answer is yes. I had a friggin' blast at his show, and then I had a great time hanging out with my husband afterwards. We had a fantastic weekend in Savannah. But that's why I haven't really updated this vlog as much with my thoughts and what I'm reading, and I didn't read anything over the weekend. But that's all I have to say. And I hope everybody's having a great weekend, and I will catch you guys in the next one.